Sam O'Reilly with the Fight Talk podcast. Are we still saying in association with round 8? I tell you what, if James doesn't say to me, because I don't even know if he fucking listens, so if he doesn't say, why is it not in association anymore, he's getting cut from next week. That's the new rule. It's still in association with round 8 for today though. Craig, myself and Kevin are going to discuss everything, that's happened over the weekend. A lot of controversy in the Parker Fury fight. I think it's fair to say it's been a busy week of boxing. I am tired as fuck. I'm going to let Craig sum up the weekend for us in one word, mate. Go on, sum it up.
It's a weird one because I've been off for the last 2 weeks, and I'm going back to work tomorrow, and I'm feeling a little bit negative, but I'm not as negative as Mick Hennessy's bank balance. So
poor Mick.
We have fucking Mick. Did you hear his interview last night when he was doing interviews with IFL? Shades of Ali. He said there was shades of Ali in Huey Fury's performance. Fucking hell,
I mean,
man.
Who's Ali? Who's he talking about? Moeen Ali, the cricketer? I don't know.
I took the piss out on Twitter and somebody sent back a meme of Ali G.
Brilliant.
Listen, I don't know what Mick is storing in those cheeks, but it's definitely working wonders for him. I was on a flight, didn't see that fight, so I don't know. Kev, did you watch it, mate?
I didn't watch it live, but I watched the highlights and stuff of it. It wasn't great. I think Fury was just on the back foot, all of it, Parker was coming forward, he was the aggressor. I think he was catching him, Fury was catching Parker with some decent uppercuts and stuff like that. But for me, from what I saw, Joseph Parker was definitely the aggressor, landing a lot more bigger punches. I think he hurt Fury a couple of times. Admittedly, Fury hurt him, I think, with an uppercut as well. It was a decent fight, but it was just a typical Parker fight, if that makes sense. He never sort of sets the world alight, but wins. And Fury, I don't know, great promotional work to get him a world title shot in my eyes. You look for his record, he hasn't really beat anyone.
Well, he got mandated, didn't he? So they didn't do a lot. They mandated him, the WBO. And they mandated him when he was still knocking about on Frank Warren's shows, and then he ended up having the title fight not on Frank Warren's show. It ended up being which looks like a bit of a joke in YouTube, although it's the biggest platform out there. No one cares, and no one thought this was worth 15 quid. During the free feed, obviously I was at a Goodwin show, so I didn't see it, but I was sitting beside Martin from New Age Boxing. His mate was watching it, and he said, look, it tells you the numbers. It tells you how many people are sitting and watching this. And at one stage there was 3,000 people watching it.
That was only during the free section though, right? That wasn't during the paid section, I told you.
But that's true, but are we led to believe more people would have tuned in? I think people would have fucking turned off, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I reckon at least, 2/3 of that would have gone, wouldn't they? So I reckon there's about 1,000 people at best.
I don't know,
mate. At
mate.
best, I reckon. But yeah, as I say, it wasn't great. Fury, for me, if his surname was anything but Fury, he wouldn't be there.
Listen, we say that, right? And I've heard that, and it's I get why people think that, but then you have to look at the other side of that coin and say, is that really true? Because the amount of shit that they get for being Furies and for being from that family and all the stuff that's been said about them before and the stuff that they've said, I don't know if he got it because of his name. I think we put it down to general boxing politics, but I don't think it's because people love the Furies, man. Anything but.
He definitely didn't get it because of who he's beat, though.
No, I disagree, mate.
Let's be honest about it. He hasn't. I was looking for his record, obviously, this week, and he hasn't beaten anybody I would say in the top 10.
But neither had Joseph Parker. Neither had Joseph Parker to win the title.
Yeah, Joseph Parker beat Andy Ruiz. He's had a couple.
That was for the belt, though, wasn't it? I don't know who did he beat. Who did he beat before that?
Carlos Takam, decent fighter.
Yeah,
he's beaten a couple of decent fighters. You look at Parker, and he hasn't. And For me, I think the Fury. Yeah, I think the right person won. If I'm honest, I know there's a lot of controversy, but I think the judges' scorecards were a bit crazy. But I think Parker won the fight just on aggression and the amount of shots he landed. Personally,
yeah.
Did you see shades of Ali when you watched Fury's performance?
Well, he was definitely leaning on the ropes a lot, but I didn't see much of Ali, if I'm honest with you. He sort of was leaning right over the ropes, not to be landed with Parker's big overhand right. But it did land a few times, but no, there was nothing of Ali there. That's for sure. I can, definitely show you that. I don't even think I saw the rope-a-dope, but he was leaning on it a lot. But listen, it was okay. It was okay, but at best, it was okay. That's about it.
Yeah.
I was at Goodwin's show from 2:30 in the afternoon to 10:30 at night. 8 hours. It ended up being an 18 fight card, which I'll sum up in a minute. But I then had to get in my motor and drive to work. So as I'm in the motor, the fight starts, and I was in there for the first 4 rounds of the fight on the radio and listening to it. And Steve Bunch was commentating. They had David Price on and whatever, and he made it quite clear. Huey was 4-0 up in rounds. He won every round. That was the consensus. He won all 4 rounds. Now, obviously, it's turned out that didn't happen. That wasn't the case whatsoever. So I'm sitting in the car going, well, Huey's obviously won. Then I got to work, had a little look on Twitter, sort of people saying, yeah, I think Fury's got it, doing this and that, etc. But it was quite close, apparently. You know, I haven't seen the full fight. I've seen a couple of clips, but how can 2 judges have it 10 rounds to 2 when one judge has it 7-7 and, you know, a lot of people are scoring these rounds to Huey Fury? I think it's a broken system now, judging, because it's happening too often. I want to know if there's a way something new can be done. Is it possible to maybe have open scoring more regular? Would that ruin it? I don't know, but for me it's got to be broken to have such different scorecards. I don't know what you think, Craig.
I think it's very interesting for me because when you look at last week, the controversy was that the 118 to 110 scorecard was in favour of the guy on the back foot doing the cleaner work, and then you look at this week's controversy, and it's the polar opposite. The 118 and 110 are for the guy who was coming forward and pressuring. Now that tells you 2 things. The first thing it tells you is judging is so subjective, man. It is so subjective, and you cannot. There is no formula that you can sit and plot down on a bit of paper that will tell you who wins a fight. But it also tells you there are faults in how things are judged, because if you look at it that way, if I'm promoting a guy who fights on the back foot, and I'm looking to get judges in, or I'm happy with judges, or I'm unhappy with judges, you can start to pigeonhole certain judges in a who favours this, who favours that type bracket. You know what I mean? So if I'm going to watch if I've got a fighter who fights in the back foot and likes to do the cleaner work, and I've got Adelaide Bird on the panel, I know because she's came out and she said this is what I favour in a fighter. So you start to have a look at that and you start to think, if that judge is on there, does that person get the rounds? Do you know what I mean? It's a bit strange. I know they tried open scoring for a while, but the issue you have with open scoring is if you check in every 2 or 3 rounds, and after 9 rounds someone is winning 9-0, the fight loses all oomph. There's no, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it, but you can have a football match where a team are 3-0 up and then they take the foot off the gas. Surely, if they've put themselves in that position, they deserve a little. Do you know what I mean? There's 2 sides to it. And I agree. I mean, Huey could have done with Adelaide Bird in that corner last night, couldn't he? But it's so subjective. It's difficult. I just think, is it something to do with what side of the Atlantic you're on? I don't know. It's a really strange thing, and I don't know. Is there a way to get it that it's a little bit more clear cut, but then you take away different styles of boxing when everyone grows up having to box a certain way because they know it's the only thing judges like, isn't it? I don't know. It's a bit fucked up at the minute, I think, and too many big fights are getting called robberies and getting called controversial for, you know, these are people's careers. Let's be honest, Huey Fury's next fight is probably going to be on, I don't know, what's a smaller platform than YouTube now, another little internet fucking company. I don't know.
Probably Dave, mate. Your mate channel.
Dave would be excellent for him. He wishes he's going to get on Dave. He would be lucky to get on Dave. But my point is, we don't know where he's going to go from here. But if he'd had the belt, he would have had a lot more options. So careers are defined by a little bit of what certain judges like, and I just think there's got to be a way that it can be cleared up a bit, because this is too often now. This is too often.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I just think it's very funny that the people who were ranting and raving about Adelaide Bird are now clamouring for an Adelaide Bird type scorecard. You know, that's what they want. So people, we're very fickle, man. We're very fickle.
Depends what fighter, innit? We like who we like, and if they don't win, we're going to find a reason that they didn't win.
Yeah, I don't know, Kev. Is there a way you can think of that we can turn it around? We can clarify because
I don't know. The only way you could do it, I know I'm going back to football here, but the football, the Premier League have a certain few referees, don't they? That they have to abide by, and I know referees are pretty awful as well, but they have their set rules and their set, things by that. Maybe each federation could have a set of 10 judges that actually stick to strict guidelines that they judge it on. I don't know. Punches landed, punches. I don't know. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because as we say, the judges just walk in there and they look at it from their own view, and there's nothing really telling them what way to score it. If it is a close one, they generally go with a home fighter, don't they, or the champion. So it's a tough one. I don't know. I think, as I say, the only way you could do it is by sitting them in a classroom and saying, right, this is how we want things judged. But then is that also then, taking it away from what they think as well? But I was watching. I was listening actually to TalkSport, I think it was, and I think it was Darren Barker was on it, and he said, that Adelaide Bird, and other judges, they've never put on a pair of gloves, let alone won a world championship or anything like that. So how do they know who's winning or what to look for? Maybe it needs to go down that route. I know, the Premier League years ago was talking about bringing in ex-players as referees. It never happened, but maybe that's something that needs to happen. Maybe ex-boxers or something like that. But
Kev,
I don't know. It's a tough one, isn't it?
I tweeted that in the week, the exact same thing. I said, if I was a professional fighter, I'd probably feel a little bit more confident if an ex-pro was sitting there judging this fight.
Yeah, 100%. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would. I wonder why more ex-pros don't go into, judging or refereeing, because there's a full-time career in it, because boxing's always going to need them. So
it's probably the same reason that ex-footballers don't go into refereeing.
I don't see it. Yeah, but football's different. A footballer will make 200 grand a week. When he retires at 35, he doesn't need to. He's set for life. We know a small percentage of boxer can realistically retire, and they're comfortable for life money-wise. So, maybe there is a way that the board can offer some sort of incentives for going into judging or refereeing if you're an ex-pro. I don't know. It's something to think about. Me personally, I imagine being a fighter and thinking, if I've got a guy who's been in there himself and he can say to me, look, the reason I scored it this way is because this, I'm probably going to trust his decision and his opinion a little bit more than an old lady with glasses on. I don't know. I don't know. You could go on forever talking about judges and what you like and what you don't like, and you're never going to have a clear, definitive answer. But
let's move on then.
Wait. John Fury.
How good was John Fury's IFL interview? It was fucking 13 minutes of madness.
Mate, you sent me that interview, and I only watched it a couple of hours ago before I fell asleep again, but he's a legend. I love John Fury. He was respectful.
Absolute madness, man.
But he's not disrespectful. He's not, I just feel like they're just at an odds, and his son is being held back from his boxing career, in my opinion, partly because of his own mental state. But what the board are doing to him is a joke. There's no two ways about it. It's a joke.
100%.
So I thought he spoke a lot of sense, personally.
I just love the fact he was like, yeah, and the only thing they've not done is hold a fucking bullet to our brain and blah, blah, blah. but after he goes, I don't want to speak out of turn.
He's a legend.
He's
a legend. Move us along. Move us along, Craig.
Yeah, the next fight that I watched was Junior Dorticos fighting Dmitry Kudryashov in the World Boxing Super Series quarterfinal of the Cruiserweights, WBA regular title on the line. Two absolute bangers. I think it was 41 knockouts and 42 wins between the pair of them. Only one defeat, and that was on Kudryashov's record a couple of years ago, and he avenged that. And we knew it wasn't going to go the distance. Wow. I don't know if any of you boys seen this. I'd seen more of Kudryashov than I had of Dorticos. But, that's because he's big knockouts and whatever else. Yeah. I was very, very, very impressed with the Cuban.
Yeah, I've seen the highlights. Obviously, it was only a short fight, so I got around to watching all of that. And, mate, that shot that put him to sleep. Woo!
But he didn't win a second of that fight. The Russian did not win a second of the fight. Dorticos dominated absolutely everything. Kev, did you see it, mate?
I did see it. Yeah, it was a massive, massive, massive punch. So, are you now doubting your USIC or prediction?
No.
Or
I think that's a final though.
You reckon 100%? He looked good, didn't he? He looked good, that's for sure.
He looked quick, very quick.
Yes.
He's boxing, the way he dips out of that shot from Kudryashov and then comes back with the overhand right. He's got that Cuban amateur base. Yeah, I mean, obviously we've only seen 2 rounds, but I could see that as a final. I think he could beat Gassiev.
Sometimes 2 rounds is enough, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Massive shot. Let's talk about the World Boxing Super Series now. For me, and tell me if I'm wrong, they're doing stuff on a different level, man. Their production is fucking brilliant, I think. What do you boys think?
Pass. You know what? I haven't watched one of their shows. That's, to be honest with you. Obviously, Tom Humber, who works on our site, went up to Liverpool for the Callum Smith fight and said it looked superb. Saw 1 or 2 pictures, but I've just seen highlights of the fights. I haven't actually sat down and watched the full show, so I can't really judge the production itself. But it'd be good to see something different. So I'm looking forward to actually watching some of the upcoming ones, and hopefully I won't be fucking working. I can actually sit and watch it.
Kev, you watched it, mate? The shows?
Yeah, the shows are really good, aren't they? They're put together really well. Yeah, I really enjoy them. Actually, it's something Frank Warren probably needs to watch, isn't it? So
yeah,
definitely.
I think the way they set out the seats and stuff like that's really clever. They have, instead of people sitting in a square row, they have everybody circled round the ring. So the ring is in the middle of a circle, like an old school theatre, if you like.
Oh wow.
And it's just a really different vibe. They've got also a circle in front of the first row of seats. They've got a circle of lights that go from the roof to the floor, and they spiral round diagonally, and it just looks very slick. The ring apron is just black with the logo in the middle. That's it. No big sponsors, nothing else. Just slick. Everything looks good. The videos they put together are like trailers for Hollywood films for the 2 guys when they come out. They come out and stand on little podiums, and they get lit up, and smoke comes under their feet and stuff like that, and then they get called into the ring. It's just
like that.
very theatrical.
It's very different, isn't it, to what we see over here? And I think anything different is good, isn't it? So, but it's very, very professional as well. It just looks. They've obviously spent a few quid, haven't they? Doing each one. They've obviously spent a lot of money. But no, listen, it's a great show at the moment, isn't it? So
yeah.
Hopefully I'll get to go to Groves Cox, and then hopefully, you know what I mean, I'd like to see it firsthand. I think while it's here as well, you'd like to kind of get to a show and experience it. Like you say, if it's different and it's done well, you know what, you want to get something a little bit different from normality. So yeah, I'm definitely hoping to get to Groves Cox to experience it for myself.
Definitely. And then the next show I watched after that, obviously, was do you think he's the most handsome man in boxing, Sam?
Oh, he's up there.
Linares?
He's up there.
He is up there.
I get very uncomfortable with these conversations, lads. I really do.
That's only because you think Ted Cheeseman's the best looking guy in boxing.
Between your crush and Sam's crush, I've got to find one. Do you know who my crush is actually? Richie Gray. My best buddy. Richie Gray. He's my best buddy, mate. I'm telling you. So
he's
out
a
to you, mate.
He's a handsome boy, Richie Gray.
He certainly is.
Let's hope he makes weight. We need to hope he makes weight because yeah, he came to my birthday last week, and the boy.
I didn't really help him with that, but bless him.
Yeah, son, have a burger, Rich. Have a burger. All right. Oh mate, yeah, so much. It was hilarious. I said if he doesn't make weight, I don't want a phone call from his trainer, Alec Wilkie. What?
You're going to get the blame, man, if you miss his weight.
I know. I probably am.
So, Linares, Campbell.
Yeah, mate.
Did you watch it, Sal?
I seen the highlights again.
You and your highlights, mate.
Mate, what can I do?
You're going to get abused on here, mate, as a casual.
I am, mate. I am. Listen, I've worked 7.
You're the only guy that's got jet lag from sitting in the same country. I don't know how.
Mate, I don't.
Campbell or Linares Campbell. Yeah, I really enjoyed the fight. If I'm honest with you, I thought it was a really, really good fight. I thought Linares started fast. Campbell seemed to be a bit nervous to start with, but then he grew into the fight. He looked brilliant going towards the end, but Linares is just a different class. You know, he really is. And I know you love him, Sam, but he's just a different class. You know, when you saw Campbell coming forward with his punches and then quickly reverse to Linares coming forward, the power and the speed and the sound of the punches from Linares was just, it was massive. It was like he was a different weight. He just seemed to punch so much harder and so much quicker as well. That's what won him the fight, definitely. But I know that people have come out and said, you know, that Campbell won the fight. I can't see it. I can't see it at all. I think he come on and grew with the fight. But for me, Linares won it quite comfortably as well. What about you, Craig? What did you think, seeing that you watched it?
I had Linares in a kind of healthy lead. I didn't have him in as healthy a lead as Matthew Macklin. I looked at Matt Macklin's card after 6 rounds, and he only had Campbell winning one of those rounds. I had the 5th and the 6th.
Yeah, I had him winning 2 as well up to the 6th. I thought Macklin was. I think he was probably just bitter because he didn't want Luke Campbell to win a world title when he didn't. Maybe I don't know what it was, but I thought it was really harsh. And the way he was talking as well.
I thought the whole commentary team spoke about Linares as though Linares was the home fighter. It was really weird.
Yeah, it was really weird. I agree with you. It was absolutely mad.
It was almost like everything they were saying was, "Oh, well done, Luke, for coming and having a go, mate. You're just not good enough." And I thought at the 10th round, up to the 10th round, I thought Linares might be one ahead here, or it might be evens. I might even have had Campbell one up. I put it on my Twitter, I can't remember. I thought every time Campbell came forward, Linares sort of looked out of ideas. And I thought if Campbell wins his last 2 rounds, he wins the fight for me. And I thought he lost both of the last 2 rounds. So I had Linares by 2 was my score. I thought Campbell did very well.
I think if I was Campbell's trainer, I think I'd have been really frustrated. Because I think Campbell had the chance to beat him. He really did. I think it was there. I don't think it was Linares' best performance he's ever had. I think he took quite middle rounds off, and he came on strong at the end. But that was the time to really punish him. I don't think Luke Campbell did. I think he boxed beautifully. I think he threw good combinations, but he didn't really put. Maybe because he was knocked down and he was fearful that them punches were a lot more powerful than what he was throwing. I don't know what it was, but he was sort of hesitant, even though Linares wasn't even throwing power punches at him. He seemed very hesitant, and then I think it was maybe 8th and 9th where he turned it on and looked actually really good. But then Linares sort of got his second win back, didn't he? I think, as I say, he took a couple of rounds off and then won the last few. I think I had him 3 rounds up, Linares. Yeah. But I thought Campbell boxed brilliantly. I did. I thought he was good. I just think he didn't. I don't know if he's got that extra gear to step up. But if he, yesterday was the day he really needed to, or this morning, whatever you want to say. But yeah, he just didn't seem to have that extra little level, that extra burst of punches that was needed to sort of set him off. But it was gutting, really. It was gutting for him.
It was
great fight. Great fight.
It's a really fun fight to watch. But I think you make a good point about Linares. How much longer has he got? How much? Fucking hell, Craig. How much longer has he got left at that top level? He said he wants Mikey Garcia. I think Mikey Garcia beats him every day of the week.
I agree.
Sam?
Am I right in saying that Mikey, the winner of last night, has been mandated by the WBC to fight Mikey next?
Indeed.
It's beautiful, and I think it's going to be a final hurrah for Linares. A nice big fight for him to retire on, because I think Mikey Garcia beats him comfortably. And Linares has been around for a long time. We seem to forget this. You know what I mean? He's sort of having a late surge of how good he is again, but he's been around a long time. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think he'll have one more big fight in him, and that will be Mikey Garcia, which I believe he'll lose.
Yeah, I think that's fair. What do you boys make of the Carl Frampton decision?
Oh, Carl Frampton joining BT Sport and Frank Warren, being managed by MTK Global, trained by Jamie Moore. It's not a cocktail that I would necessarily pick to go, my last final few years in big fights, and I don't know. Me personally, I think management with MTK is a good idea. They're doing great things, and they're signing great fighters, and they're putting together their own shows, and I think they're doing well, MTK. I can't really slag them off. Frank Warren, for me, still hasn't set the world on fire with this BT Sport platform. I don't think he's put one great show on yet. I think he's had some decent shows. I think his locations have been all wrong. The Copper Box is constantly fights at the fucking shows. He's got Leeds, where Josh Warrington's going up to, and if he doesn't have a big show in Leeds, I think he's going to struggle, because it just doesn't seem to be doing it right, and I can't put my finger on what's off. I personally wouldn't have gone. I would have bit the bullet and gone back with Hearn if I was Carl Frampton. Who knows what he's been offered?
I agree. But I guarantee one thing, though.
What?
Frampton will be fighting Oscar Valdez very soon.
Yeah,
he's the WBO champion.
Yeah.
He's been the WBO champion for 426 days, mate. So there's definitely, I'm telling you now, that's definitely on the cards. I put money on it now. I'm going to the bookies in the morning. I'm putting 100 quid on it, I tell you. Frampton will fight for the WBO, 100%.
That is next level research you've done there. 426 days.
You know what, mate? I'm not the oracle for nothing, I tell you. That just come out of my mind, and I guarantee it's right.
Oh dear.
I think that's for me. It must be a money thing. It has to be purely a money thing, because these Frank Warren shows that have been put on in the last couple that have been put on, they've been shit. They've been absolute shit.
Yeah.
They've sold half the tickets and gave the other half away, again under the guise of a prize.
Well, listen, I agree with you. It must be money, Craig, because Frank Warren definitely needs Carl Frampton desperately. He desperately needs him. Yeah, and BT. For Frampton to settle, and I say settle, because there would have been much bigger promoters out there that would have wanted him, much bigger. Yeah. For him to settle for BT Sport and Frank Warren, it must have been money orientated. He must know he's only got a few fights left, and they've offered him a massive bumper deal, and he's gone, do you know what, how bad can it be? I'll just crack on and get me money and get away. But he probably guaranteed him the WBO title, mate, in his next fight.
But I think he immediately goes into that stable and becomes their big star. 100%. Whereas if he goes into a Matchroom stable, he's never going to be the big star ahead of AJ. Never. So maybe it's something to do with that. He wants to be the focus of a promoter. He doesn't want to be an afterthought. He doesn't want to be a second or third choice. So maybe, I think Matchroom blow a lot of their budget on AJ fights, and I think he wants to have that budget freed up for the big stadium fights in Northern Ireland. So yeah, essential.
Yeah, he did say Windsor Park in that. He did an IFL interview, didn't he? When he was it was actually before they announced Warren, but he was explaining why he's gone with Jamie Moore, and the promoter he goes with has to be able to deliver in Windsor Park. He wants to fight at Windsor Park, so it has to be Oscar Valdez at Windsor Park next summer, I guess.
What do you guys think of Jamie Moore as a trainer?
I actually got a bit of a hard time for this, because I said on Twitter that I was surprised that he was going to go with Jamie Moore, because Jamie Moore wasn't that experienced and wasn't a big name. I don't mean that offensively in the slightest. I think from what I've seen of Jamie Moore, the work that he does with Tommy Coyle and the work that he used to do with Matt Macklin, I think he's a guy that seems to forge almost like a brotherhood with the fighters, and that's something that's good to watch, and I think you really want to do well for him, and I think you put his heart and soul into it. So I think he's a good trainer. I think he's got a long career ahead of him, potentially.
I like Jamie Moore. And it comes back to me saying, you trust someone more who you know's done it. Jamie Moore was in some wars, so when he's but the only thing with Jamie Moore is he hasn't done it really at a high level. He hasn't had any fighter at a high level. Like Matthew Macklin, he probably was in his corner for one of those multiple world title fights, but he didn't sort of grow him from there. So Carl's at the stage now, he's not going to learn any new tricks, I'd imagine. It's kind of going to be someone that knows the basics well, because what's Carl going to learn? He's not going to learn anything, is he? He knows it all.
But is Jamie Moore maybe the closest trainer out there to Shane McGuigan, as in age, as in the way he trains? Maybe that's why. Not because he wanted a big name, he was going to try and change him or do this or do that. As you say, I think Frampton and McGuigan were friends and were buddies and everything else. And I think he sees the same maybe in Jamie Moore, and it's quite an easy transition rather than changing everything. If you went with a Salas or if you went with a Freddie Roach, they would want them to do it their own way and this way. And is it more that he's a big name, so Jamie Moore will just do what he wants to do? Or follow very similar training methods to what McGuigan was doing. I don't know. Yeah. For me, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's, but I think the next fight, you'll know if it was the right move or not. Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's always interesting when a fighter changes everything, because instead of having to find one new ingredient, you're now throwing 3 new ingredients into an empty pot. Do you know what I mean? And it's all well and good taking one thing out and trying to change another thing, because you've got other 2 things that work still there ticking away in the background. But when you have nothing there that's been tried and tested, and you try it all at the one time, it's going to be interesting to see how it all settles.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix. They're not. Out of the 3 things, he could have gone for bigger, more established of each of them. A bigger trainer, a better promoter in Eddie Hearn, and probably a better management company or a more well-known manager. Who knows? But yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Change isn't always a bad thing. Jamie Moore and him may develop a good relationship, and for the last few years of his career, have some really big nights and win some titles, which is what it's about, earning money for him at this stage of his career. So I don't really have a problem with it. But yeah, I was surprised by the Jamie Moore announcement. I can't say I wasn't, but the more I've thought about it, and I think you've made just some interesting points there, Kev. He's quite young. He's not too dissimilar from Shane McGuigan.
Yeah.
So,
and obviously with him signing up with Macklin as well, Macklin and Moore are buddies as well. Maybe he just felt comfortable sort of keeping it closer to home. Maybe I don't know. But as I said, I don't see it as a negative. I think Frampton's good enough to have any sort of training. Do you know what I mean? I think he's. I think his next couple of fights will prove if he's still got it or not. Definitely.
Yeah. He's a very, very good fighter.
Yeah. Definitely.
Actually, Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year last year, which I never actually knew.
He was. Should I go through the Goodwin card? Obviously, I was there.
Yeah.
8 hours, 18 fight card.
Bloody hell, man!
It was long. It was long.
Jesus, I went to one and it was like 9 or 10, and I was knackered.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty draining. It was a long night, long day rather. Before I even then went and did a 10-hour night shift at work. So it was tiring, but listen, it was good. So let me sum it up for you. Some boys on the card: Ryan Walker, Ramez Mahmood, two good friends. Both went 4-0 featherweights. They look good. Ramez got a stoppage. The math magician as he is, as he's known, because great name. He got a stoppage. Both look quite good in my opinion, and both move on. Who else on the card? Ricky Heavens fought on the card, and he fought against the promoter. Have you ever heard of that in your entire life? Jack Green.
And the promoter lost.
The promoter is a journeyman. He's 0-14 before last night.
Oh,
yeah. So
you just stick to promote him, wouldn't you?
Well, he's loving life. He probably got paid 800 quid for the fight, a couple of grand for the promotion. He's doubled up. Job's a good one. Yeah, mate.
That's a good idea.
14-0, you would throw yourself in with a worse fighter, wouldn't you? Just to get a win, you would. And then have your boots up, wouldn't you? You'd have to, wouldn't you? You would. Listen, if he wants a fight, he can beat me. No problem for 800 quid. I'm happy with that.
Curtis Gargano, who was on the card, and he's probably my favourite journeyman. I think he's 0-31, I'm going to say, or it's around there. And he's just...
he's not a bad fighter. Curtis, he's alright.
I love Curtis. Curtis fights at light heavy, and he's definitely a welterweight, but he just carries a lot of timber, and just throws one wild shot, and then steps back and says "woo" in your face like Ric Flair. He's amazing. I love him to bits, and I was chatting to him on Twitter the other day, and he just said, "Look, while I enjoy it and I'm providing for my family, I'll keep doing it, man." So 800 quid of a weekend's work. You can't go. It's not too sad, is it? You know what I mean? So it's fair play to these boys. Who else was on the card? There was three title fights. Oh no, sorry, there was 3 main events. 2 were title fights and 1 was a final eliminator. But on the card, the best fight for me was Linus Udofia and Ashley Bailey Dummets. Now, Ashley Bailey Dummets, for people that don't know, his record's quite deceiving. And he was a long-time amateur, but he was a tough test for Linus Udofia, who we all know is really, really well thought of. Me personally, I think he's superb. He does things that not many guys at that level do. And Ashley tested him for a couple of rounds, and then early in the third, I think it was, he landed a head. They clashed heads, and Linus had a big cut above his left eye, and it looked quite dangerous for a minute for Linus. He scared me a little bit, and he ended up sort of going through the gears and upping it. And for anyone that hasn't seen the knockout circulating around Twitter, it was a beautiful shot. He threw a couple, stepped back and timed the right, just absolutely beautiful. The exact same time Dummets had missed, and he just crumpled him into a heap on the floor. Beautiful shot.
He hits him with a very sneaky uppercut, doesn't he? Just to start off the combination. Dummets is swinging a bit wildly. Linus takes a wee half step back, hits him with an uppercut, takes another step back, and then just cracks him on the counter. And beautiful stuff. And we've seen that time and time again. But I said to you, Bailey Dummets gave Taylor Jones a rough ride for a few rounds. We were at that fight, remember?
Yeah, the dove box, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Tay obviously used the range, used the jab, popped out the jab. He was a lot longer than Ashley was. But I knew it was going to be a tough fight because Bailey Dummets comes to scrap, man, and he comes forward. I think he was coming down in weight when he fought both of those boys, or maybe just Linus, but Terry Chapandama, 7 Wolves, shout out to him. I know he's quite friendly with Ashley, and he said that he's came down in weight recently as well, so he's a strong guy. But beautiful stoppage for Linus, and I agree with you. He moves on to, I don't know, I heard Steve Goodwin say, he could be a British champion, and you have to agree with that. He's a very good boxer.
Then we had 2 title fights, 2 Southern Area title fights. Wadi Camacho was defending against Ozzy Jervier. The crazy thing was, when I looked at the 3 main events on paper, the 3 10-rounders, I went, there's no possible way any of these fights are going the distance. It's just not happening. Wadi Camacho and Ozzy Jervier at cruiserweight, who both bang and are both a little bit chinny, and it went 10 fucking rounds. I couldn't believe it. I think it was scored. I think it was 97-95 to Wadi in the end, something like that. It was pretty close. Wadi probably landed more than him. Jervier is very one-dimensional, very flat-footed, but he's in great scraps. The thing that was quite clear to me is Waddy didn't blow away a lesser opponent as he's usually done for the Southern area. Waddy's problem's been when he's gone up a little bit for English title honours, he gets beat. But last night, he didn't look amazing, is the truth of it, and he struggled passing Ozzy Jervier, who landed on him a few times. And if you look at Ozzy Jervier's record, you see the kind of guy he is and who he's been in with. He probably should have been knocking Jervier out and didn't, but he keeps his Southern Area title, and I can see him having one more on a big stage and signing out, because he's been a good servant to the sport, Waddy Camacho has. So as long as he's ready to go on. I don't know. It's a hard one. You don't want to tell a guy it's time to retire. Do you know what I mean?
I like Waddy Camacho. I do. I've liked him for a number of years. I've watched him on all different channels and stuff, and live a few times as well. But more recently, he seems to, when he gets hit, he feels it, doesn't he? And you never like to see that as well. We were there with the Arfan Iqbal one, and that was just devastating. Devastating knockout.
I was backstage after that one, and Waddy was in the changing room, sort of composing himself and getting himself together, and his trainer, Terry, I believe his name is Terry
Coulter.
as well.
Terry Coulter, yeah.
Yeah, he was just outside the dressing room talking to myself and a couple of other people. And after that fight, Terry Coulter said, "I'm done. I'm walking away, man. We can't do this anymore." And there was genuine concern that should we really be in there again? And that's, I think we spoke about it before. For us, Waddy should just chuck it in, or for me anyway. That's my personal opinion. You don't want to see a guy. That Iqbal one was a bad one. And when you talk about a big stage, you're talking about him fighting a guy like Okoli or something like that. And personally, I don't want to see it.
Personally, I don't want to see it. I'm just thinking, if I'm Waddy Camacho, and he hasn't quite made it at English level, I would probably take the cash out fight against an Okoli at maybe the Cardiff, Okoli's on that, and if he can get 10, 12, 15 grand, he'll deserve every penny, because he's been a good servant. And to go out against an Okoli, which is probably going to only go one way, and that's further pad Mr. Okoli's record, then he deserves a good payday. Whatever he decides to do, fair play to him. But if he wants to keep being, defending the Southern Area, fair play to him then as well, because after that, Danny Cousins against Spyros Dimitri was the final eliminator. So whoever holds the Southern Area title has to fight Danny Cousins, because he battered Spyros Dimitri. I think it was... Yeah?
I quite like Cousins. I think he's quite a good boxer. Who did we see him stop?
I've seen a few Danny Cousins fights. His
last
record...
fight, he stopped somebody in his last fight. I can't remember who it was offhand, but I remember... was it not Jervier?
It can't be Jervier if he just then fought for the Southern Area. Can it?
It was Jervier or Lopez. Maybe it was Lopez.
I can't remember.
I can't remember who it was. Fuck it. But I remember thinking he doesn't really look like he's going to win this fight, and then he kind of surprised me. And last night I've seen Spiros box. Spiros is a muscle bound guy who looks as though he probably got into the sport a bit later than a lot of these other boys.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought Cousins would outbox him. I'm glad to see that he got a decision, so well done him.
Dropped Spyros once right at the end of the second round, I believe, as a heavy shot. But Spyros actually took more punishment than I thought he would be able to. He was in there getting hit a lot, but he never stopped trying to throw back, and he had more heart than I thought he did. So listen, Steve Goodwin's got a lot of good cruiserweights knocking about that can fight each other. There's lots of exciting fights at cruiserweight on small hall shows, so Spyros will be knocking about still. There was a couple of firsts for me. Like I said, I'd never seen a fighter fight the promoter of the show before. I don't think Eddie Hearn's going to put himself on the next gen card. But
Frank Warren definitely not. Him in his novelty knees.
Yeah, you had a guy in the away corner in the second fight had to have his hair cut off like Malignaggi. But it was thrown and ended up on our media table at one stage. Which was quite funny. Little fucking... I'm pretty sure he could have sold it to like a Brazilian hair shop or something and made some dough on it, because it was quite long. The poor geezer had probably been growing it for 5 years.
I was at that Malignaggi show and all.
Oh, where was that? The Etihad, wasn't it?
I was like, what is going on? They've got scissors out. It's like, what the hell? Couldn't believe it. His dreadlocks were coming off. It was hilarious.
Oh dear. The final fight I want to talk about was Freddie Kiewit was fighting Lewis Green for his Southern Area title. Now, I think it was pure ignorance on my side that I thought Kiewit was going to win comfortably because I just didn't know enough about Green, and I should have done more homework and actually asked people about him, I guess, because not only did he stay the course and survive the 10 rounds and look good and land more clean shots, he got given the decision. He got a 97-95 victory on the judges and is now the Southern Area champ. So, yeah, all props to him. Freddie Kiewit didn't make one defence of the title he won against Eric Ocheng earlier in the year. Looks the part. He's got a great physique, but just didn't have the levels, I guess, to actually up it. When he boxed well, but when Green changed his tactics to get a bit more success, Kiewit didn't really have a plan B or a plan C when he needed it, and I think that was the story of the fight. And yeah, it was close, and when the referee gave the decision to Lewis Green, no one really had a complaint to make, so it was a good show, long show, but we love the small hall action. You can't beat it for me. The atmosphere on some of these fights. Tunji Agunia fought again, and the place comes off the roof when Tunji fights. So, yeah, I don't think you'll ever find a better atmosphere than you will at York Hall.
Yeah, shout out to the Goodwin boys again. Obviously, check out their new video. Check out the new video. They're doing a new video series. Martin Theobald from New Age Boxing and Steve Goodwin himself doing a video called Ring Talk, which I gave him a bit of a hard time for because he kept misspelling it Fight Talk. So, Steve, if you've made it this deep into the podcast, I apologise for giving you a hard time about that. The videos are good and anybody should go and check them out. It's good to get an insight into what these guys are doing. And Steve is, if you want to ask somebody a question and get a colourful answer, Steve's your man. He gives you straight up answers and he doesn't pull any punches. So definitely check that out. You'll find that on their page as well. Ring Talk, and supported by Fight Talk.
Sometimes gets called Fight Talk, so yeah, we'll take it. Something else I found out yesterday, while I remember, I didn't put it on the list of topics, but the weekend before Christmas, I think Christmas, I can't remember now, I'm getting it wrong now, but it's the 16th and the 17th of December, which are a Saturday and a Sunday. I'm hearing Eddie Hearn is doing a double header. He's doing Kell Brook in Sheffield on the 16th of December and Hay Bellew in the O2 on the 17th.
17th of December, yeah, it's been announced now. So.
Is that announced, is it?
Yeah, 17th of December, Hay Bellew at the O2 London, yep.
Definitely
announced.
And Kell Brook the night before in Sheffield. That's going to be...
I don't think Kell Brook's been announced yet, but the Hay Bellew definitely has.
Yeah,
that's... Kell Brook fighting?
Fuck knows.
That's what I mean. It's an interesting one to see where he goes.
What weight?
Well, he ain't fighting Amir Khan, is he? Because he's going to be fighting Billy Joe Saunders, I reckon.
Jesus Christ.
Correct. He is a prick, man. Definitely. In fact, that would be a tremendous fight to see who gets punched in the face more.
You'd be happy watching both of them just get punched out, wouldn't you?
Oh.
That's one of them fights where you want to see a double knockout, isn't it?
Yeah.
Put them both land at the same time, that'd be awesome.
100%.
They're my two least favourite British boxing personalities, man. People give the Smith brothers a hard time. I'd fucking party with the Smith brothers. Me and Paul Smith would go to Ibiza and we'd fucking have a laugh. Me and Amir Khan would not go to IKEA and have a laugh. Fucking Amir Khan. He's an arse.
At least he'd get his cock out for you at the end of the night, though.
Fucking loser.
What do we think, Kell Brook? Do we think he's got to go up to like middleweight now? Do we think he's going to? What do we think, Craig? If you could pull an opponent out your ass now, who do you think he would be fighting?
I know Miguel Cotto's having his last hurrah in December. I don't think that would be a bad opponent. I don't know. It's hard. It is hard. I think somebody like Cotto would be good because it's a big name. But after getting your face broken, your eyeballs broken out twice in a row, do you really need to be fighting somebody that big, or can you just get a kind of warm-up fight and settle your way back into the top level. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you'd want a warm-up fight, wouldn't you? Definitely. And I think he needs to step up. I think draining himself down, I just don't think helps. Getting off all the water and stuff, it literally breaks you up, doesn't it? And that's what's been happening to him recently. So I think he definitely needs to step up in weight. But who to fight? I think he needs a couple of warm-up fights just to get a bit of confidence back. If I'm honest with you.
I think you're right, Kev. I think
he needs to get some confidence back. I think he needs to get into that weight and work through the weight before he starts talking about title shots. To go straight in against a seasoned pro like Cotto, and he's one hard bastard. Let's not pull any punches. He's as hard as nails, and even at the age he is now, that would be one rough and tumble fight, and that ain't something Kelbrook wants for his first fight at that weight. No way.
No. I think if you got to go a step up in weight and a step down in class, because you can't have two back-to-back broken faces and then expect to go straight. I think you need, I think a warm-up fight, someone with soft hands preferably, someone that's not known as a puncher, even though Spence wasn't necessarily known as a puncher. I think you want to get someone as pillow-fisted as possible, maybe Paul Malignaggi out of retirement, I don't know, but it ain't going to be a pay-per-view.
Do not say his fucking name on this podcast.
He's already been mentioned.
Blocked him now. I've blocked him on Twitter.
So have I. He's a wanker.
He's a fucking wank.
He is. Maybe Connor. No, I'm joking. But obviously, Hey Bellew is going to be the pay-per-view, isn't it? So the night before, it ain't going to be two pay-per-views in 2 nights. I guess Brooks going to be just on terrestrial television, maybe a step down in class of his opponent, and it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing either to have one more run at the title. He needs a couple of slow builders, I guess.
I've just read that Danny Jacobs' first opponent under Matchroom has been announced. Luis Arias, who is ranked highly in all the governing bodies, actually spoke to Luis last week, maybe.
You
so
did?
I'll be doing an interview. Yeah, I'll be doing an interview with him. I'm waiting on my questions and stuff being answered by him and his publicist, so we'll be getting that interview out on FightTalk.net, and he's just been announced to fight Danny Jacobs. I wasn't aware of that when I spoke to him last week, but that's just been made official, so keep an eye out on that one.
What do we think, Craig? Matchroom US, are they just taking the piss now? I mean,
I think it's something that he'll keep himself busy with until it suits him, and then I think he'll fizzle out. I think, did you not? It kind of reminds me of the King Kong deal when they signed Luis Ortiz. They were all buzzing about signing this overseas fighter, and it's their first overseas fighter. Had a couple of fights, and then just fizzled out. So I could see it being something like that. But we'll see, man. I don't know.
I think Daniel Jacobs is a great boxer, though, isn't he?
I like it. Yeah,
I really like him. I think it was probably the closest anyone's ever come to beating Golovkin. I thought it was. I thought he was awesome in that fight. I really did. So I think it's massive for Matchroom getting someone like that. And if it is successful, it could open the door to more American fighters, which I don't necessarily think we want. But for Eddie Hearn, it's great, isn't it? Mind you, he signed Chisora again, didn't he, as well? So.
Mm-hmm.
2 steps forward, 2 steps back, isn't he?
My thoughts. Let me give you my thoughts on the Matchroom USA. Right, Eddie is a wonderful promoter over here. He knows what sells. He knows about the football crowds that he tends to bring along to boxing, the casuals, the Sweet Carolines, and he plugs his IFL interviews and gets views and stuff. I don't see what he brings to American boxing because, he's a little bit of a cheeky chappy. Like, let's watch his shows. I don't know. Like, he's not.
I don't think they're going to understand Eddie Hearn a lot of the time, though. That's the problem. The Americans, they're very different to us, aren't they?
Very
they
different.
Won't understand this cheeky chappy. They'll think, "Who's this geezer?"
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to like
I agree.
him.
I think he has his finger on the pulse when it comes to British. The way that we work and sport works, and you see him on podcasts of YouTubers and stuff. That happened the other day, and he's intelligent. He's got his finger on the pulse, and he knows how to sell to British fight fans or even British people, not necessarily fight fans. But I don't know how that translates in America. Is it enough to just have big names like a Danny Jacobs? We'll soon find out. But I don't know. Is he going to be over there on Jay Leno or fucking something like that doing... I don't know. Is he going to go on James Corden and say, oh, by the way, let's do carpool karaoke and then make sure you buy my boxing shows? I don't know how it's going to work. It baffles me. We'll soon find out, but I can't see it being successful.
It'll be interesting, but listen, he's not daft. He's obviously spotted a gap in the market. He's obviously got a couple of tricks up his sleeve that he thinks could drag an audience from other promoters over to himself. And I think it'll be interesting to see who he signs, who he puts on the shows, and it just makes the whole operation of getting the top matchroom guys in the UK known in the US a lot easier. You know, he can stage his own shows. He can put guys over there. He can put Katie Taylor as the 17th support to an unknown middleweight clash, just to give her that Irish exposure that she really deserved. That's ridiculous as well. Don't start me on that. It's a waste. But yeah, I don't know. Listen, Sam. We've been on the phone for fucking ages, mate. I've got two subjects that I want you both to give me a quick opinion on, and then I'm going to go and eat a Chinese, and look to see if I can find Hennessy Promotions credit score on Company House Register. So first one, Rio Ferdinand. Kev.
Joke. Did you say one word or?
No, just briefly.
I don't really understand it. If I'm honest with you, I just think it's ridiculous. You know, he's being sponsored by Betfair, isn't he? He's got Richard Woodall as his trainer. It just sounds all a bit funny to me. It just doesn't, you know, to make sense for him to come out and announce something like that, and then in the next breath, the British Border Control come out and say we've had no application. It's just,
yeah.
I don't know if it's a publicity stunt or if it's just to get his name back out there. I don't know what it is, but I just can't imagine. You know, they were taking the mick on TalkSport saying that maybe they should have John Terry versus Rio Ferdinand. You know, and stuff like that. But I don't know. He's calling himself the Defender to Contender. That's his catch name.
No, it's not. That's the name of the channel. That's the name of the program. You've got it wrong.
If he turns pro, he's going to be using that.
No, he's not. You've got it wrong, man. That's the name of the program. No, it ain't. That's the name.
I know it's the name of the program, but he wants to use that.
No, he don't.
I watched an interview.
You're telling me he's going to be Rio the Defender to Contender Ferdinand. Have a word, Kev.
Mate, I think it's ridiculous as well.
You're wrong. You're fucking wrong.
As well.
No, you're wrong.
Listen, when it gets announced in his first pro fight, you'll remember this time. I'm telling you. I don't know. It all just seems like McGregor Mayweather's happened, and anyone can jump on board now. I just don't understand it. Boxing used to be a serious sport, didn't it? Sam?
There are no examples of this being successful. Now, when I say this, I mean someone coming in at this late stage, i.e. Freddie Flintoff, from another sport to boxing. Leon McKenzie I don't include because he had boxing in his blood. His father's a trainer. His uncle, Duke McKenzie, multiple world champion. So he grew up with boxing and used boxing as a big part of his training when he was young and was always involved in boxing. It's very, very, very different. And Leon ended up fighting for the English and the Southern area and coming up just short. And he said, you know, at 39, it was just his body gave up on him. That was in his 11th fight, I believe. Rio Ferdinand is 38 and I'd imagine would be 39 by the time any possible debut happened. And he's never even been around boxing as more than hitting a couple of pads. It's not the same, and it's not, you know, I don't think he'll get a British Boxing Board license unless there's a big fat paycheck paid to them. He could get a Bieber license, he could get a Maltese license or a Luxembourg license. Freddie Flintoff was the biggest embarrassment to boxing that ever fucking was out of this country. I just hope Rio don't go the same route because I actually like Rio Ferdinand. But why go pro? Why not have a couple of charity fights? Why not have a couple of white collar bouts? Why do you have to call yourself that you want to be a professional boxer? Why? There should be an elite few people. I like boxing. Oh, I'm going to turn pro then. No. There should be a standard that people are held to. And Rio Ferdinand will not he won't meet any standard of any professional boxer with a winning license, with a winning record rather. He ain't gonna turn over as a journeyman. So it makes zero sense.
True, or is it just gossip that he called out Tony Bellew?
No, fuck
no. No, that was I know what that was. It was a stupid video that Rio did. Rio did a video. He was hitting pads in a park somewhere.
Oh,
yeah. He was taking the piss. He was just shouting out different people. So he shouted out Anthony Joshua and stuff, but he was only taking the piss.
Good.
What do you think, Craig? I mean, I don't think Rio's a cunt. I don't dislike him. I don't even think it's a money grab. He's earned ridiculous amounts of money. I don't think it's a money grab. But he's obviously...
It's a boredom thing, do you think?
Yeah, I do.
I think he was quite open in saying, you know what I mean, tragically his wife passed away at 5. I believe I might be a little bit off the mark with the age, but far too young is the fact. And I think he came out and said that, you know, he needs something to focus his time, his anger, he's upset, he needs something to focus that on. Now my question again would be the same as yours, Sam. Why does it need to be turning pro? Why does it need to be with this big hoo-ha Betfair behind it, BT? Why does it need to be that?
Yes.
Why can't it just be a lower level, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, but then I look back to, I look at some of the shows that we go to. If I put Rio Ferdinand on one of those double cards against one of their cruiserweights, listen, man, Rio might go 1-0. That's, you know what I mean? Some of the fucking professional boxers we see with no amateur experience are shite. And they batter me, they punch me from pillar to post. I'm a bank manager, do you know what I mean? I don't really care. But if Rio's got athletic ability and he puts full-time training in and he's got the finances to back a legitimate camp, and these boys are training part-time somewhere after working as a postman in the morning or whatever, like, I reckon, I'm going to get fucking flack, but I reckon he could beat a couple of small hall average fighters.
Yeah, it's possible. It's entirely possible. But everyone's going to want to be that guy that fights Rio Ferdinand, didn't they? Do you remember when CM Punk made his MMA debut? Everyone wanted to be the guy to fuck him up. So, because you can make...
It's dangerous though, because any gym he goes into as well, everyone's going to want to knock his head off. So he just needs to be careful. You know, for me, I just don't want to see him. You know, I love Rio Ferdinand. I hated him when he went to, you know, Man United, Leeds, and then Man United. But I've always had love for him. But but yeah, I just don't want to see it. I just don't want to see, you know, him get hurt. You know, he's got kids. You know, that's where he needs to be putting his time into. And he's a great dad, by all accounts. But you know, for me, I just don't want to see Rio get hurt. And I think he can get hurt in sparring. He can get hurt. You know, when you're a boxer, you know, and you're growing up as a boxer, you learn to take the punches. You learn your body adapts to it. He's going to walk straight in there, and because he's Rio Ferdinand, he's going to have people not just casually sparring. They're going to want to knock him the fuck out, literally. You know, to say, well, I battered Rio Ferdinand, for me, it's very dangerous.
Do you not think it's crazy, like the juxtaposition this year between all of the good... For me, this is the best year of boxing I can remember in a long time when I'm talking about big fights that have been made. Yep. But then it's also been the most detrimental as well with the whole Conor McGregor thing, the issue we're having with judges' scorecards, now this footballer turning over and it being this big deal. Like, it's weird that the polar opposites, because it's been so good in terms of some of the matchmaking, but then there's been so many negatives that have been shown on the sport as well, which is it's hard to get your head around.
Yeah,
very up and down, isn't it?
It's while it's hot, and boxing seems to be a cool thing again at the minute. People getting involved, people making platforms so they can massage their own ego and say, I'm a part of boxing. People starting PR companies that know fuck all about boxing, but by the way, I'm involved in boxing. So it seems to be the cool thing right now. Listen, we ain't been going that long, and I've seen people come in who have no plans at all to help the sport or help anyone involved in the sport. Is purely an ego massager, And that seems to be the case with one or two others. Like I said, love Conor McGregor. He came into the sport to make 100 million and fuck straight out of the sport. Or maybe he'll jump back in. Who knows? But that window is open for people to come in and take the piss out of the sport while it's hot, like it is at the minute. It seems to be the forefront. There's a million platforms showing boxing. And it's going to happen. You're going to have the negativity towards it. But people in boxing and actual boxing people and boxing fans will know the difference.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting in and out, literally a couple of sentences each because my Chinese is calling me, man. The prawns have actually jumped up in the fucking plate and they're fucking looking at me. Andre Ward obviously hung them up this week. Couple of sentences from me just before I go and eat this Chinese. Singapore chow mein, if anybody's wondering. Whatever. I am brew, you know. Couple of is he one of the best ever? Is he underappreciated? What's your thoughts, Sam?
Underappreciated, underrated, intelligent, hated on by Carl Froch because he was the only man who beat him that he didn't get to avenge. Just beautiful boxer, classy, Olympic gold medalist, undefeated, world champion. At what, 2 weights?
Yeah.
You know, fuck anyone that doesn't appreciate Andre Ward.
Fair, Kev?
Yeah, amazing boxer. Fantastic guy. Good for boxing. Gutted, if I'm honest, that he's retired. But, you know, he's had a lot of injuries, a lot of problems over the years, hasn't he? And I think that's taken its toll. He's probably quite an old man as in body. But, yeah, fantastic boxer. Don't know if he's one of the best, but listen, he walks out with an O on his record, and you've got to respect him massively. He's beat good names throughout, hasn't he? You know, and stepped up and fought bigger men and beaten them as well. So, listen, respect to Andre Ward. Wish him all the best in the future. Definitely respect, mate.
100%.
Do you know what age? Do you know what age he was the last time he lost a fight?
About 12.
12 years old.
Yeah, he was 12 years old. Yeah, I watched the documentary. That was awesome as well.
Crazy.
Man's a
think
legend.
I don't think he has the most fans-friendly style.
No.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If he fought everybody, he was in that Super 6 and he fought everybody. He fought Kessler, fought Frost, fought Green, went up, fought Kovalev twice, fought Sullivan Barrera, who's a fucking scrapper as well.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant boxer.
He was just a bigger Mayweather, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, similar style. You know, some people called it boring. People that actually love boxing just thought it was absolutely amazing. Thought his technique, his style, everything was just perfect. And as I say, he walked out of boxing with a 100% record. Fair play to him.
Beautiful.
Best of luck to him, obviously, definitely. Yeah, massive.
Let's finish up. Craig, we're going to let you go and have your Iron Brew and Chinese. Kev, you've probably been clucking for a cigarette because you haven't had one during this podcast because you're on strict orders. No more of that shit.
I'm about to have 2 chicken breasts, broccoli and green beans.
I'm lovely. I'm going to work again 7 nights this week. You know, I'm a bit of a martyr, but whatever. Craig's booked up for Lomachenko, Rigondeaux. Jealous as fuck. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And as of next week, we'll be doing the podcasts, all 3 of us in person. So hopefully the quality will increase and the quantity will increase and it'll be more regular and we're going to actually get to sit around together talking boxing more often. So it's been the Fight Talk podcast. Thanks for listening.